I still can't believe you flat folks went with Atlantis for the
Well,
2000s. What an answer.
it's a great answer. It gave great variety. Got some 2D stuff in
I mean,
there.
yeah, it gave variety, but I mean, compared to everything, I mean, Avatar. Avatar was 2009 as a docket of the channel, and we've already gone over the second one. Great opportunity to put it in there.
We never claimed that a decade would be encompassing
Iconic
each decade.
roles.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Pick the movie from each.
We
Welcome everyone to the season 8 decade recap.
Right, are you getting all this?
Oh yeah, I've been recording for the last 5 minutes. That's in there.
All right, that's getting cut out.
No, it doesn't need to be cut out.
No,
that's how we do this. Cold open.
Do it live.
A decade. There was 10 things covered this season.
Yeah,
not one, not two,
job.
not three, but 10.
We made it. It's a lot to cover this season for sure.
We're a full 100 years older now.
Old.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Can we finally destroy the time machine? I don't want to get trapped in Dinosaur Land.
Time machine. How about the multiverse machine?
We didn't go
God,
to
fuck. It's even worse. I'm a geeky writer. Hello.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
I'm Sprinks.
Sprink socials.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I almost forgot. Socials. Everybody, we are at Cheap Seat Critics on Instagram. Instagram and TikTok. I want to make sure I got that right. You remove that S at the end, so just at Cheap Seat Critic is our Twitter. Full name Cheap Seat Critics Podcast is over on Facebook, as well as youtube.com/@CheapSeatCritics for our slideshows and PNG tubers, and a letterbox as well.
All right. So for our audio listeners, I'll just list off the 10 we saw, each one covering each decade, starting with Wizard of Oz in the 30s, Casablanca, 12 Angry Men, Sound of Music, All Quiet on the Western Front, the 1979 version, The Princess Bride, Shawshank, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And that's the 1957 12 Angry Men. Because I think there's other versions of that as well.
There's one in the 90s.
Which we did not cover.
Yeah.
We did not cover.
Not yet.
But we could cover.
We could cover it.
Does anyone have a opening question they feel strongly to start with?
Which era was your favorite?
Just like in general, favorite era or favorite film that was picked of the era? Like
either, whichever makes a better question.
Era. I'll pick favorite era. And I'll take this as a blanket statement through the decade and not just what movies are favorite out of here.
Okay.
So I think from the movies I've watched my whole life, I think the 90s probably for me have been the best decade. A lot of my favorite movies have been from there. A lot in the early 2000s as well, but I'll say the 90s because I know there's a lot of iconic 70s and 80s ones out there, but a lot of those I think generationally I've missed, and they don't have the same impact on me. So I'll say the 90s for me.
I had to double check, but yeah, I'm early 2000s. I am. And it's easy for me. It's where Lord of the Rings is. It's where a lot of my anime stuff is as well. At least what inspired them and stuff like that. So, early 2000s.
Simple enough for me is the 80s. I think if you go back to the Princess Bride on what we covered for Decade, I just listed off. I had 20 choices of like films to go from for the 80s. There's so many I've seen, so many I cherish and love. So yeah.
And I guess for me, I would have to say either 70s or 90s. Those are probably my two favorite eras or films.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with 70s. You seem to watch a lot from that time.
It's good. It's a good decade. It's way better than the 60s.
Yeah. I would agree to that
And there was no
statement.
Star Wars in the 60s.
Yeah, there was no Star Wars in the 60s. There was no Star Trek in the 60s. Movies, that is. Haha.
Wasn't the movie 69?
Shut
I
up.
don't know.
Oh,
I don't remember.
you mean the motion picture?
The motion picture.
No, the motion picture comes after the first Star Wars movie. Because I remember Gene Roddenberry. There was a thing where Gene Roddenberry actually ended up because Gene Roddenberry and George Lucas actually got along in real life. It was the fandoms that started the whole Star Trek for Star Wars thing. But Gene Roddenberry has said that because of the life that was essentially was given to the sci-fi genre thanks to Star Wars, he felt confident enough that that Star Trek could make it on the big screen as well. So
there we go. Learning even more facts in the recap.
As is tradition.
As is tradition. We had comments, right?
Yes. 2 comments.
At least a couple we found.
Yeah.
There was one on TikTok commenting for the Willow movie that we did in season 7, I believe, from all.smiles, smiles with a $, and it says, "It's my theme."
Yeah.
I don't know if
I'm
that's
sure you guys
the
can connect
song.
to that.
Yeah, read into that what you will.
Wait. So the song that we used for the TikTok post, is that what they were talking about?
Probably the safe
I
bet.
think so. I think they're probably a fan of James Horner.
Is that what the
Posted?
so it's the actual theme music from
From
Willow.
Yeah. Okay.
I think-
There we go. Okay, that
That's
makes more
what
sense.
my interpretation of what the comment meant.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe it is their personal theme song. I respect that. We all have our own favorite song, I guess, that we'd hope would play into once we walk into a room.
Mm-hmm.
And another comment we found was over on our YouTube end of things on All Quiet on the Western Front from @William Branch 4282 or 83, sorry, 4283. That says this actually was a better version.
There we go. Contradicts Ryder's viewpoint. Because Ryder's the only one that's seen all of them.
All 3.
I'm just gonna shrug at that. I guess we have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Like I said,
No what to say.
yeah.
Thanks for commenting.
Thank you for commenting. We do appreciate it.
Thank you both for commenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or to anyone out there who will comment.
Yeah. So, like I said, I do like the version of All Quiet on the Western Front we watched. It's just not my favorite.
I think it's
I do
a lot of
think
people would say the new.
I do think that one is the most accurate to the book. So that's saying something. So
Or they could be a bookie.
yeah, maybe
Cookie.
that could be why it's their favorite. So
What are they going around? Getting
Taking bets?
gambling. Yeah, taking bets, gambling money. Yeah.
They
Star
could
Trek
be.
motion picture, 1979. I was off by 10 years. I just had to check.
Yeah,
79, not
that-
69.
That was bugging you.
He's a pike man, anyways.
I do believe the
Yeah,
60s,
cool guy.
was it 1966, had Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Don Knotts classic.
Yes.
Same year as the Batman TV show.
the-
Adam West, but
And the Star Trek original show is 1966.
oh, didn't know that.
Okay,
So much
it's-
happened that year.
Yes, a lot happened in 1966. I think there was even maybe something else big that happened there, but we're not going to discuss that.
Oh, I'm
It
they
doesn't have
made a
anything to do with
root,
movies.
right? They named a
Yeah.
root after it.
A what?
Gosh.
Oh, a root.
Ooh.
I thought you meant I thought you were talking about like a plant root or something.
I mean,
Sure.
I thought you were talking about the space race.
Space Rays.
Yeah, that was also it.
A lot happened in 1966.
Very, very busy year.
Indeed.
Uh,
But unless it has to do with Sound of Music, we don't have to touch on it.
There you go,
Okay.
connected. I'll bring up A difficult question for some,
wonderful.
maybe easier for others. Favorite character across all 10 of these. Wonderful, wonderful films.
Why do you make it sound like you're giving a magic demonstration?
Because he is.
Ta-da!
Clearly. Can you hear the casting?
I can hear Crimson like moving his mouth left to right on the mic, like
Left
going up
to
and down the
right.
stage.
Ta-da!
Favorite.
Ah, that was weird. Like a flange effect or something on that.
All right. Favorite character.
I have to look up all the movies that I was obviously watched and was in.
I mean, I can
Only
answer if you guys
one?
need time. Yeah, just one.
There's hundreds of characters.
Background character 1 was president. I think every
alright.
single one of these.
Crimson,
movies.
you may want to lead this one. I'll go second. I think I nailed it down to 2.
Okay. Yeah, mine's
Or
also.
Sinister, I'll
at
save you. I'll
2.
go third.
I think across all of them, and Dufresne, probably my favorite out of these
Andy
10.
Dufresne.
He's not a very complex character, but he's very likable. I liked him throughout. He's just a smart character, and I like smart characters. Even if he had some luck with some stuff on his escape that we discussed thoroughly.
How was he
And
able to
runner-up would-
Oh, you go. You go.
Runner-up would probably be Noir Spider-Man as well. Kind of a jokey pick, but I really like them.
That's
Too bad he's not in the new one.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back on the season, having never seen Shawshank, I think Andy Dufresne also probably is my favorite character I'd walk away with. Having been my new introduction to this character. Again, as Crimson says, really likable. I like my intelligent characters as well. Which is why I'm probably going to put Juror number 4, I think, as my second. And then the Spider-Verse cast would probably fill up the rest of the spots. So
Poor Louis.
Louis. I'm a big fan, obviously, of Milo Thatch in Atlantis. I think it's really. Probably as a kid, that was kind of like the first like nerdy main character I think I'd seen in like a movie or something. As far as I mean, I'm sure there was others, and there was probably some on TV. I'm torn between either him or Waymond in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
yeah, Waymond's a good character. Yeah.
So kind.
Such wonderful, wonderful answers that I can't steal from.
You can.
You can just say what your
I'd
backup
agree
would
to all
be.
of them.
Oh,
All the
okay. Well,
answers,
I know what yours is.
I'm gonna go with something different, something
Yeah.
out of the blue. Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. I love Scarecrow.
That is not the answer I thought you were going to do.
Scarecrow
that's
from the Batman. Oh wait, sorry. Wrong
Yeah,
Scarecrow.
that's what I thought he was going to say.
For that one. Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. The funny goof.
I thought you were going to choose like Wesley or
That's also a good answer.
yeah.
There is a lot of characters this
There's
season.
a lot of
so-
good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I could say Juror 9. I was the only one who thought he was funny.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Louis from Casablanca, he was awesome.
Damn.
Captain, whatever his. I just referred to him as Captain from Sound of Music. I like
That's
him.
fair.
Captain Von Trapp.
Mr. Von Trapp.
Yes.
Funny
Funny enough, how you.
You go. No, you go.
Funny enough, how you bring up Scarecrow because he would have been my least favorite character across all of
Oh, you just took his heart out and you threw it over there.
Next question. Least favorite character.
these. Yeah,
Scarecrow.
yeah.
What? Out of all 10 movies?
It's so annoying.
You took his arm off. You threw it over
Look
there.
how much he
You took his
jumps
heart out. You threw it over there.
around.
Yeah, it's great. What
So
are you talking
jovial.
about? You think every character in All Quiet on Western Front is better than Scarecrow?
Yeah.
Oh my
Air quotes
god.
characters. They're just background.
Crimson.
Who cares about them? I don't care.
Crimson.
Scarecrow was annoying.
he just blew Sphinx's mind.
Questions characters in Quiet Western Front. They were just background. They don't even leave an impression on me.
You think the boyfriend, enemy in World War II, and Sound of Music boy is better than Scarecrow?
Yeah,
because he's filling his purpose though. He's not supposed to be really
Rolf. How can you forget Rolf's name? Come on,
Rolf.
Okay. I got another one for you. I got a comparison for you, Crimson. Scorpion from Into the Spider-Verse versus Scarecrow.
Scorpion's not even a character.
He is.
He's not a character.
He's a character. He has speaking lines.
That doesn't mean character.
That's the question.
It's like saying Stan Lee's a character in that. He's just a guy.
He is. He has speaking lines. He has a scene.
Yeah. Lines doesn't mean character.
He's actually throughout the whole movie. He's in like every train. We talked about this. He has more screen time than Scorpion, probably.
To answer your question, yes, he's worse just because he annoyed me. A character that leaves no impression on me is higher than an annoying character. So,
outrageous.
There you go.
Outrageous.
I guess what's your guys' least favorites then? If mine's so crazy,
that's fine.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go next. Not to pick on Wizard of Oz, but the Cowardly Lion.
Oh, come on.
That's a good runner-up.
Come on.
I accept that more than Scarecrow.
Shocker, your least favorite character. Put him up.
And then, I mean, okay, so this is definitely subjective, because I like the character, but I don't like I really wouldn't like him, like, in real life. My next choice would probably be Hemelstas from All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Boggs.
Boggs.
I wouldn't want to meet Boggs in real life.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't.
I don't know. They're all so good.
Spikes, anything going to mind? Sounds like Sinister's still thinking about it.
Oh, Sinister's still thinking. Darn, it has to go to me. Character I don't like.
I mean, I can talk more about Scarecrow if you want to think.
No. What was it? One of the jurors. I have to get the list of all the numbers.
You didn't really like the
2.
You didn't like the ball boy. You didn't.
Oh no, you don't. 7. It's Ball Boy.
Yeah. I thought you didn't like the ball boy.
No, I didn't like 11. I think.
Oh, that was the one that Ryder liked.
That was a mustache man.
That was the watchmaker.
The watchmaker.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pitch to me, sir.
I just don't remember doing much.
He was integral to like a few scenes.
Every character of the jurors could be said.
Wait,
5, 6, and 2, not so much.
Yeah.
2 had a whole talking scene with 8.
Oh, it was an integral talk. They all talked, if that's what you mean by integral, but
they had a scene. I'm saying 5. I can agree with 5 out of your list of 2, 5, and 6. 5 didn't do. I think 5 just got angry about the knife. That was it.
No, 5 was the expert on the knife fighting because he'd seen it before.
Yeah,
he was the slum. Yeah.
Oh, yeah
6 didn't do anything. He was the blue collar guy.
I would say 6. Was he the air conditioner repairman or something, or
some sort of contractor?
Yeah, he probably was my least
construction.
He was like, his whole thing was like he was looking for a motive for the murder.
Yeah,
and when that was done, that's when he changed his.
Because I think he didn't really have a single scene where it was like really, he felt like really important.
Yeah, he just had the talk with 8 in the bathroom.
I have another question. I have another answer if it helps. Okay. Another answer is the girlfriend from Sound of Music who's with Von Trapp.
The Baroness?
Manipulates Maria to leave.
That's personal, though. I'm assuming that's...
I mean, that's what all these are. Right?
Yeah, obviously.
Least favorite, not your least. I mean...
Sinister, was your answer juror number 6, or was that just in context of...
No, I think that was, overall. because I was going through like because there's like characters that I don't really like, but that's just because they're like a villain, and that's their point is that you're not supposed to really like them. I mean, some people like villains, but that's I like the fact that they fit the role, so I can't really say they're my least favorite character. But for like a character that just doesn't do anything, I'd say probably 6 from 12 Angry Men. Just so it feels like you could have the whole movie without him, even though you can't because it's 12 Angry Men. So you can't have 11 angry men. You have to have 12 angry men.
The bailiff.
You can just rename the title of the film.
Nah, 12 fits. 11. You see 11 angry men. I just feel like they could have been a little bit angrier.
Yeah, Baker's Dozen Angry Men.
Yeah, a Baker's Dozen Angry Men.
I think that's 13 though.
That is 13.
Yeah, okay. Except if you go to McDonald's, and technically the nuggets a Baker's Dozen is they take one away, so you have 11 nuggets instead of 13.
Interesting.
Sinister.
That's not actually true.
Sinister.
Yes.
Do you have any ratings you would like to give for the movies that you were not here for this season, if you'd seen them before? So the movies that you haven't rated because you weren't here for the podcast would be Wizard of Oz, Sound of Music, All Quiet on the Western Front, Atlantis, and Into the Spider-Verse.
I knew this was going to be a question, and I didn't do anything to prepare for it.
I did notice
awesome.
that
Gonna drop it in
we
on
have
you
a
anyway.
score we got a score from you from Shawshank, though you weren't in the episode for it.
Did I give that to Crimson?
I think so. Or it was brought up at the end at some point, but I see it in the list that we have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. What did I give that?
I think you gave it an 8, right?
So, for YouTube end, it's if you see it, but it's an 8 for audio listeners here.
Yes, because I was talking to Crimson about how the ratings went, and he asked me what mine was. Okay, now I remember. I was like, I don't remember giving that. I think Atlantis, I was going in with an 8, and I think I left with about a 7. Wasn't, I haven't seen it in years, so like I saw it recently, I think before, or when,
Mm-hmm.
And so it did. Roasting Glasses an 8. Upon rewatch, I think about a 7. Didn't get caught up with The Wizard of Oz. Didn't rewatch Sound of Music. Into the Spider-Verse, I would hold that, I think, at a... If I did halves, it would be an 8.5, but I don't do halves, so it would be an 8. Make it simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's not perfect. I gotta give it a little wiggle room, okay? They got a sequel coming out. They could be better.
Speaking of ratings, Ryder, I heard you were going to change.
That is true, yes. I think I was moving 2 ratings. The one I remember the most is I'm moving Into the Spider-Verse down objectively from an 8 to a 7.5. The reason for this is mostly because I needed to watch I had a better grasp on, I guess, that sort of genre of multiverse movies with the first movie that we covered in the podcast being the fucking horrible, and then I think
the fucking horrible.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was better, and I kind of needed it held on me ground, I guess, more. I think on my scale, because I think I think Crimson made some excellent points, and as well as you, Sprinks, during the podcast. I think adjusting for that, I think 7.5, giving that objectively to Into the Spider-Verse is a little more fair. So that will be moved for me down to a 7.5 objectively.
And did you have another one?
Yes, I think I'm moving Princess Bride up from a 7 to a 7.5.
Ooh,
that's what I like to hear.
Yeah. I actually ended up rewatching this again without my notes, and I think that's because when you're taking notes, even when you have a pause button, you're taking notes for a movie, you still miss things. So I was able to give it another clean watch through with an objective mind, and I missed some character things for I think it was Prince Humperdinck's like kingdom, like how his
Is it
people
Florin?
operate. Yeah, Florin. But more like his underlings, how they operate and stuff like that. So I think that improved the world building for me enough to bump that up. So those are my 2 rating adjustments thus far.
I will also be adjusting one of mine. I am lowering Casablanca's subjective from 6.5 to 6. Main reason being, I looked through my letterbox recently and just comparing it to all my other stuff, it wouldn't be a 6.5. So it's a 6 now.
You love Louis, but not that much.
Yes. Things that have changed since we covered it, though. I did get the DVD, the like special edition DVD, which had a lot of cool features on it, including the Looney Tunes parody, Cara Blanca, and the radio coverage, radio show that they did of it.
Which you said is objectively better than
yes,
the
they streamlined
the movie. They have ads.
Yeah, skincare. Skincare, wonderful.
Yeah, he made us sit there and watch like 15, 16 minutes of it just for the ad read.
No, Sinister, I wasn't watching. It was listening.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
We went back to the 40s.
He was watching 60s, in his head. So he was imagining. No,
it was 40s. 46.
Yeah, it was 40. It was like 40. Yeah, 46.
Yeah. Anyone else amending? And since we're on the topic,
I know I mentioned in a couple of them that I was in that I might amend mine later, but I think I stand by most of mine.
I'm amending one because I'm looking at my list, and as it goes down, I can see everything now that I've covered.
And everywhere.
And I believe Casablanca, my subjective is 5.5, which matches All Quiet on the Western Front being 5.5. And I liked All Quiet more, so Casablanca is going down to a 5 subjectively.
Oh, man, Casablanca is just taking a beating in this one.
Taking some hits.
I'm looking at my score, seeing that they're both the same subjectives. So, yeah, Casablanca is going down by 0.5. Still not saying it's a bad movie.
If you can, what did it for the enjoyment factor for you? Like, what puts All Quiet on the Western Front ahead?
All Quiet on the Western Front had more action and more things to captivate me. Casablanca was just a drunk who's
no. Remember, that's subjective. This is subjective. That's a valid answer to give. Like, whether it's engaging.
All Quiet had me more engaged. Casablanca's just a sad guy.
I would love it if you did and they did a new special, like how George Lucas has a new version of Star Wars out every year or whatever, every other month. They have a new version of Casablanca. More gunfights, more blood, more
more Nazis.
Can't wait.
Ewoks hanging from the rafters.
Yeah. Moving shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just takes me to like all the Disney Plus TV shows that are constantly getting. I can't wait for Secret Invasion. All right, moving on.
Yes, you can wait.
Yeah. That was the coverage of all those.
All right. Let's see. Do I have a general question? I think I did. I don't remember what it was though. It's gone now. So.
Brinks, have you asked a question? You got anything?
No, I do have a question. I don't think I've brought it up before because I don't believe I brought it up in the episode itself. But in Princess Bride, just a question: did Wesley add iocane powder to either drink?
Oh
God. Because
yes.
I went back and
he turns his back.
Scene. He does. I went back and rewatched the scene. There's a likelihood he didn't add it to either.
What, he just laughed to death?
No. Iocane is breathed in poison. So when he tells him to smell it and he says, I don't smell anything, that's how he gets poisoned.
It just timed perfectly to the end of the conversation?
Yeah, out of a convenience. Rather than instantaneous by drinking.
Let's see. I haven't...
Interesting. I'll say no, just because the timing part.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
If that was true, would it ruin your subjective a little bit?
For me?
No,
yeah, for you.
If it was true, I think I would go into objective, right? because that would be convenience.
It would build a convenience problem that doesn't exist currently in it.
Yeah. So then that would go into objective, unfortunately. If that were true, I don't.
Iocane poison's fictional, correct?
Yeah, Iocane poison's
Yeah.
fictional.
Okay.
I remember that it's been so long since it's been long. It's been a while since I've seen it for the podcast. Now it's been a couple weeks, but I remember as a kid, and I don't know if this is true. My mom pointing out to me that when he first grabs the wine glasses to hide them, like so he's just grabbed them off the table. The way he holds the iocane powder as a bit of like a cigarette tucked between his fingers, it's angled at a way that it could be falling into the glass as he's picking them up, to kind of show that he's already poisoning one of them before he even sets it down to hide which one he's poisoning in.
Sure, let's go with yeah. Your mom wouldn't lie to you. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was possible, I'd still leave it up to chance, though.
Yeah. No.
Going with that.
No. I'm still in the camp of he obviously poisoned both.
He did both.
Yeah, but I'm saying that he just happened to poison one while he was bringing them over to hide it. Which one he was poisoning. So, it's just been a while since I've seen it. Like I didn't look for that particular detail on the last time I was watching this for a thorough watch through.
Okay, just a thought I had of a possibility.
That's fair.
It's possible.
It's a theory.
There's something else I want to bring up that I made a goof on to fix for myself.
Goofy guy.
Yeah, back when we did the Pixar tier list, and we were covering Finding Dory, Ryder and I were talking about the seagulls, and I was a little confused on which pairing of seagulls he meant, and I thought he was talking about the pelican. I called the pelican Gil. That is not his name. His name is Nigel. Gil is the Willem Dafoe fish.
God.
So correction on my part.
That's right. Good memory on that part.
I was listening to that episode yesterday, so.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That might be my favorite episode we've done. It's real enjoyable.
Wizard of Oz is definitely one of my favorites.
Wizard of Oz.
Just
your theory.
The theory.
Your theory of Glinda the good, quote unquote, good witch and Tin Man.
Oh, so good.
Such a theory.
It's such a good theory, but there's nothing that disputes it in the movie.
Lovely.
Just got to get around to someday doing Oz the Great and Powerful, and just more points to strengthen your cause.
Or wreck it.
Well, good.
But it'll be interesting, nonetheless.
Either way.
I have got a question. Oh, no.
I have a question. Yeah, so how many first times were there in this season? Like how many movies did you watch that was your first time watching?
Out of the 10, how many of the 10 were new?
Yeah. How many of the 10 were new to you, and which one was your favorite?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
I'll go. So, for me, I think it was 3. Casablanca, Sound of Music, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And out of those 3, I would say Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that's my favorite one. Followed by
subjectives, yes.
Yeah. I'm not even looking at the chart. I'm glad I make sense still without looking at my chart.
Well, with your correction, you said to Casablanca going down to a 6 now.
Yep.
You have Casablanca and Sound of Music both at a 6 subjective.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So, yeah, pretty easy answer for me.
All right. Sinister, if you.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't end up getting to watch.
Limited one, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't end up getting to watch All Quiet on the Western Front. So the only new one that technically was listed that I hadn't seen before was probably 12 Angry Men. So that was probably my favorite.
By default.
I give it a 9. Yeah.
Halvesies on Casablanca, because I watched it years ago for like a film class. We didn't end up finishing the movie, so I only saw like the first 30 minutes or whatever. But I mean, I would still technically count that as I've seen it, but not really.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Sprinks?
For me, there was 3 I had not seen before, which was Casablanca, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Everything Everywhere All at Once was my favorite of those 3.
Fair enough. All right. I think there were 3 new ones for me as well. Shawshank. At least this version of All Quiet on the Western Front, and then Everywhere All at Once. Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think Shawshank is probably my favorite of the new ones that I have seen.
Wasn't there also Atlantis?
Oh yeah, Atlantis.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be at the bottom rung of the new ones I was introduced to.
Oh,
All right. Let's see. The question I was going to ask. What movie do you think had the best atmosphere, the best vibes? What do you think?
Best vibes. I'll go first. Into the Spider-Verse. I still rock with those vibes all the time.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to zip to that real quick.
Yeah, that was an easy one for me. Best vibes. Yes, Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know. I really like the atmosphere the movie presents, and I really love the whole, like, this feels like a comic book put on the big screen kind of aspect to it. And it's a well-deserved place now. It has a well-deserved place now in our culture, I think. So I'm willing to stand by that one. It's got good vibes. I like it.
I guess I'll go. My answer would probably be The Princess Bride. It's a very happy movie. It's a fun movie. Even though I brought up a lot of like objective points and flaws in it, it's still a fun movie.
There's torture and killing, and
that's fun.
Yeah,
True
he lost
love.
50 years of his life. Maybe, who knows? Because that machine didn't make much sense. But still fun, very memorable. I think anyone who's seen it can at least quote one thing from it.
It's probably one of the most quoted movies of like all time.
Yeah, it's
out of
pretty
this
memorable.
lineup of 10, yeah, probably.
I really like the vibe of Atlantis, because it's kind of steampunky, but not like in a way that I usually find kind of annoying. But that 1920s, turn of the century.
It's got the adventure vibe to it.
Yeah, adventure vibe. I like that kind of that old discovery kind of stuff. It's kind of a lost, I think, genre a little bit.
And so does the art style go with your taste as well? Being that it was by the artist who did Hellboy.
Yeah. It was weird. There was a point where I knew that, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then before watching it, I'd forgotten about it by now, so I didn't remember. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think he should art direct more movies. I think he's got a good eye.
The square fingers.
Square fingers. But yeah, so yeah, that helps, and I like that esoteric kind of lost culture vibe too. I think a close second would maybe be Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I think Atlantis definitely is a kind of scratches a lot of niche stuff that I like.
Well, wonderful answers. Surprisingly, I won't choose any to steal with, even though they're all great. I'm going to go with Wizard of Oz.
Shocking the world.
Yeah, comforting, giving me that Wonderland kind of vibe, just breaking out into song. It's vibrant and catchy, and
even though we've established that Scarecrow is the worst character.
It's been established.
Crimson has.
Hey, I said nothing.
Well, you didn't really defend it. You kind of like gave it to him.
If Scarecrow started breaking out into song with me, I'd join in. We'd be linked arms.
You'd sing to any of them.
It'd be great. Crimson would punch him in the face and run away. I
mean, run away.
Exaggerated. I would just burn him. Okay, I mean, come on, get real here. Punch a Scarecrow.
No wonder you said Princess Bride. Of course, just killing, torture, and killing everywhere.
No. See, but that's a fun torture and killing, because if it was just torture and killing, he would have gone with Shawshank.
Never go against a Sicilian.
when death is on the line.
You really should work on a Wallace Shawn impression.
It's a hard one to do.
People do it. Okay.
Well, I guess what was if anyone had any, but a surprising rating that occurred from either yourself or for anyone else.
Okay.
And by yourself, I mean, could have gone in, didn't expect it after watching it, or looking at the whole list now, lined up, seen something like paired with one another.
It's still fresh, but Crimson giving Casablanca an objective 6 still really hurts. I don't know.
Or subjective, or
No, it was objective.
No, he gave it an
No,
objective
I give it
8.
high.
8.5 is the objective. He changed his subjective to a 6.
Oh, either way.
A 6 being shown at all. Dastardly. Mine would be Sprinks, actually. You shocked me. Yes.
Crazy, I get picked on so often.
Yeah, your subjective for 12 Angry Men. I was pretty surprised that you gave that an 8. I was totally expecting like a 5.5 or 6, middle of the road. Yeah. I thought you'd think it'd be too boring.
No.
Yeah.
I said it before. It's an enjoyable movie. I love the tension and the like.
It needs
You're
more
thinking
action.
you're the juror. That is the action. It's the thought process. It's like who's manipulating, who's lying, who's strategically looking. It's such a thoughtful, like watching everyone's minds work in a room. Who wants to just get out of there? Why juror 8 is doing what he's doing? Who's going along with him? It's so enjoyable.
It's
an 8.
So,
there is actually something that I forgot to bring up in the movie that might affect your objective a little bit, Springs. I think I counted them. There were 3 separate times where it's framed that juror 4 is standing between 8 and 3, like he's protecting 3 almost throughout the film, which I think is excellent symbolism, and it's also excellent within the characterization of how how 3 pretty much relies on 4's intellect to kind of keep the guilty side of the argumentation alive for the movie.
Ryder, it's still an 8. It's a great add-on. It's great. And was juror 4 the second to last to break?
He was the
Yeah, he was one of the.
He was the glasses guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the last defense for 3 then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not all, and those shots are also spread throughout the film, so it's not all condensed into one spot. So it shows clearly like the dynamic of the room, which I really really love.
The body language.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Possibly
maybe on a rewatch could raise it. Who knows? Maybe just the mood, the day I'm in. I'll even be brash enough to say maybe on one day I'll watch it and I'd say it's a 10. Who knows?
I don't know. That musical score was.
12 Angry Men musical score.
Yeah. That was your critique.
I mean, maybe 9.9, but
that was one of the things I did not understand of you, Springs. All the other points you brought up in that, I'm like, okay, I could see your angle, but the music one I couldn't understand.
It only tailored to 8. It only played 3 times. Where's everyone else? Why isn't it background music? No, they just want to go with rain.
Because it fits. The rain builds the tension to the room.
Brain's not soundtrack. The choice to go with rain over a soundtrack. They could have done both.
Yeah, that's no, because it's intentional that it's just the rain. They don't need the music. That's the point.
Should have either been strengthened more or just not used.
Each one was important when utilized, though.
Oh, just tailors to Juror 8 being the main character when they
you say that,
the main character in the room. It only plays to him.
No,
he's the main character, though.
The very first song has nothing to do with him. It's when all the jurors are entering the room.
I gotta go watch the movie again. I gotta go rewatch the movie.
Okay.
I'll just have
Fair
to
enough. All right,
This
well, fair
has
enough.
nothing to do with that, but the juror number 4, E.G. Marshall, should also be well known for being Beverly's father in Christmas Vacation.
You know he's well known
Looks
for?
nothing like him.
You know what he's well known for? He's well known for playing a United States decoder in Tora, 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 a very good World War II movie.
Yeah. And the Nazi collaborator in Falcon Crest.
Lots of roles.
Lots of roles. He's also the president in Superman 2.
Oh, yeah. I never connected that. That's true. I haven't seen that movie in years. Damn.
Sprinks, did you say a surprise rating?
No,
I have not, but I do have one. Looking at my list, I see that I have rated, with both subjective and objective, I have Shawshank higher than Princess Bride as a movie. And that's slightly surprising to me. That I think Shawshank is a better movie, in quotes, to Princess Bride.
You mean your objective?
You're looking at my scoring. Yeah, they're both 9 subjective, but my objective to Shawshank is 0.5 difference of 8.5 versus Princess Bride of being an 8. So combined, Shawshank would be a better film in my eye, looking at it, which does surprise me.
So you're expecting, I guess you're expecting them to be both 9 subjectively or close to. So you're thinking going in, Princess Bride might be higher objectively than Shawshank?
Being a film of the 80s and a standout film of the 80s, yes. I figured, looking at our whole list, that Princess Bride would have been my highest combined objective-subjective movie out of all 10.
Yeah, that would be a surprise. Going in, I was, I guess, similar, but towards Shawshank, I was expecting it to be the highest, and it was. Yeah.
And it was.
And, yeah.
You know,
I was expecting
all
this
these
objective to get higher.
all these movies are pretty darn good. What was out of the 10? What was like the overall worst film? Like we have our individual out of 10, which one we rated the lowest, but like combined, like averagely.
Well, I have the average rating on the chart I posted in the Discord.
I think
so
You have it in. I don't think we have it up.
I'm looking at it. The lowest. It's a three-way tie. It's a three-way tie. Wizard of Oz, All Quiet, and Atlantis are all tied for the lowest at 7, but I don't have the decimals on there. So,
well, then should we settle it now with those 3? Which one's the worst of those 3?
Which one?
Should we do that right now?
Oh, well,
right here?
Easy
We
pick.
could settle it right now. It's recap.
Easy pick is Atlantis.
I think Atlantis is probably the lowest.
That's 2 for Atlantis.
I mean, I like it. I'm just saying, I think
here?
overall.
Both. My lens is both.
So
I know what mine is. It's All Quiet.
All Quiet, I figured, yeah. I'm also kind of leaning towards that, I think, out of those 3. All right, well, we're tied to Atlantis and All Quiet.
Okay.
Well, audience, that means what would be third?
You get to decide.
You're the tiebreaker.
Is it 8th place?
Be any comment.
In 8th place, Wizard of Oz, then? And then 9th, 10th, tie.
I guess in this way we're doing it. Yeah.
And then the highest, which is also just a 2-way tie of 9 between 12 Angry Men and Shawshank.
Yeah, and I believe decimals Shawshank's higher. I think
Well, it doesn't matter because we're gonna settle it now.
We're settling it. I'll say Shawshank.
I also say Shawshank.
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men.
Audience, this is on you. This was planned from the start.
Which is the worst of the decades? What is the best of the decades? Ding, ding.
To add some more clarification, most of that is, I think, just because I have more subjective love for 12 Angry Men. I've only seen Shawshank once. I'd have to rewatch it a few times for it to really, really settle in, I think, for me. But 12 Angry Men's still my solid answer for now.
My thing is, I think 12 Angry Men, it's so captivating, it's so engrossing, and it's the simplest thing. It's just like 12 guys talking in one room for like an hour and a half. And I'm Shawshank has a bunch of other stuff going for it, and it has similar things. But I think that 12 Angry Men, if you can,
I mean, if we're
do
talking
that,
about,
yeah,
like if we're going to talk about your ability as a director and writer, I think 12 Angry Men is far more impressive given its scope and scale. Being stuck in a room, like how do you make this more interesting? Like,
More
because
entertaining and captivating.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do agree that like, with your point, Sinister, in that like Shawshank has so much more going for it. It has a lot more to bat in its corner, but I think 12 Angry Men is a better demonstration of what you can achieve with the art form of filmmaking. So
Yeah. They're both 9s for a reason.
yeah, there's a reason that we're tied here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, both solid, amazing movies.
I mean, I'm in agreement. They're both great.
they're both great movies, and they're both about the justice system.
They are.
Which weirdly
That's
true.
Two different sides of it. There's the prosecution side, and there's the
The liberation
post,
side.
yeah.
You know, just for shits and giggles, going over our least, the worst bottom tie and our top tie, with everything else being an 8 on average. What's the most middle movie?
What's the most middle movie?
The most mid-tier movie.
The most middle, with Casablanca, Sound of Music,
Sound of
Princess
Music.
Bride,
I think I'm gonna
Spider-Verse,
say
and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
The most
I think I'm gonna
mid
say Sound of
movie.
Music.
So that's 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So out of the 5, what's the middle of the 5?
Most mid movie of those 5. Oh.
So I see Spider-Man and everything higher than Sound of Music and Casablanca. And Princess Bride. Yeah, I think Sound of Music for me would probably be the middle.
Is the middle?
I'm sure we're gonna cause a lot of fights.
Oh man.
I
Saying
think,
Because
Sound of Music
the middle here means which 2 are below it and which 2 are above it.
yeah, exactly. So I think Casablanca would be my middle.
Damn. I think Spider-Verse is my middle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
He put
I
everything in
I have
Princess Bride over it.
everything in Princess Bride above it.
You have Sound of Music below it.
Sound of Music and Casablanca below it.
Interesting.
Wild. Well, I'm glad we have those settled. Can't wait for comments for the next recap.
Yeah. How could you say that Sound of Music is a mid-level movie?
Out of the 10 options.
Yeah, I mean, the 10
they're all
options,
they're all 8.
They're all high.
Yeah.
They all got
I mean-
a plus. I mean, yeah, they're all above a 7 average.
Yeah, this season 7 is our lowest, which is pretty good.
We're unintentionally laying the ground for tier listing these movies.
Yeah, we didn't know Shawshank, Atlantis, Spider-Man, Chip and Dale. What?
Chip and Dale is objectively
Wonderful.
Oh, we
Yeah.
covered it. We've done it.
I have a deep question.
a deep question.
Ooh, love those.
Yeah. What do you guys think have movies have gained and lost over time?
Never mind. Don't love that.
Yeah,
Deep.
it's very deep. This is deep end.
What movies have
Cool.
gained and lost?
over time?
Yeah.
Like in general of movies, or
Well,
just
what do
here?
you think? Yeah, like, well,
Well, yeah.
Use this
just
as a
movies in
template.
general.
yeah, use this as a template. Like, what are in these movies that you don't really see anymore? Or,
Oh.
Like
Oh,
like
well,
for
oh,
me,
yeah.
I think movies have lost like an edge. A lot of stuff now are more safe. They're too afraid to hurt feelings. Back then, I think they cared a little less about that, which gave more opportunity to tell other stories. I think that is something missing today. It's just
I liked when
an
stories
edge.
were squares. Nowadays, all I see is circles.
Circles,
There's
darn
no corners.
circles,
There's no points.
infinite.
Yeah,
Oh.
the infinite
everybody's ready to get
multiverse
their
is a-
hands dirty.
Yeah, the infinite multiverse is a fucking bagel. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I want.
What is?
What is a movie?
Lost.
I got an easy one.
I got a long list. Where should I
Practical
start?
effects.
Yeah.
Practical effects. I love practical effects and the use of like realistic stunts and puppeteering and rigging and all these things behind the scenes to get a scene and shot how they want it to do without modern just CGI in it.
Me and Crimson, we watched. There's I can't remember. You probably remember the name of it, Crimson, but it's like a YouTube channel where they remake CGI stuff from past decades. So that's what their jobs are or whatever.
Corridor Crew.
Corridor Crew. And we were watching. I think it was the Terminator 2. Because they have the
Terminator going through the balls.
Yeah, the T-1000 or whatever going through because he's a liquid metal. And in the original, it's all CGI, but they tried to do it with different levels of like CGI, and it still just didn't look right. Like there was just something about it, and I can't remember how they did it in the original. I don't know if you can remember.
Well, they made an entire new
software
software specifically for that effect.
But I think, on top of that, like there was also practical stuff where they had like stand-in builds and that kind of thing. So I think what was lost is like CGI was kind of meant to sort of help along practical at first. It was meant to accentuate, meant to exaggerate certain things and kind of cover up any sort of discrepancies or little missteps. But now it kind of gradually, as we can see now, it became bigger than practical and is the go-to for anything because it's so
cheaper.
Much simpler.
I think constraints.
Weird that
there's a lack of constraint anymore.
I feel like it should be, technological advances and going upward, but with what I've seen with films, it's a hump it's gone over.
Well,
I mean, it was like late 2000s really good, and nowadays it's just, ooh.
Well, the other problem is now
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania.
We don't talk about that. Haven't watched it yet. I think one of the other problems is there's such a tight turnaround now where they're all overworked. They're all, there's all time constraints.
3 hours at a time.
Well, now it's less about the movie and just the money.
Yeah.
That's another thing, too.
Yeah, I think it would be, I guess, to really quantify it, I think it would be the industrialization of art.
Well, movies cost more than they used to.
Yeah. Well, my use of this is more in the, like, it feels so industrialized and so corporatized because it is. Everything is about turning a profit rather than just making something that you're passionate about. And then we have our breakthroughs in the modern era. I do consider Spider-Verse kind of one of those breakthroughs in that, like, everything has this bland 3D CGI. I'm going to say Pixar look, but that's the incorrect...
Yeah.
That's the incorrect thing. It's just they all look like this. Like there was a time where animation here, at least out in the West, used to be a range of 2D, 3D, and we could all hand drawn, and it used to all be like bouncing between those. But eventually, 3D CGI just became the easiest to make.
And then there was some that mixed it, like when we covered Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
Or Atlantis.
Hand-drawn and CGI. And Atlantis.
And Treasure Planet. Yeah. Oh, wait, you said Treasure Planet. My fucking brain's farted. Sorry.
I mean, like John Silver, how he has a CGI arm, but hand-drawn.
Yeah, like it's
cool. It's a cool mix.
Looks fucking great. And there is, like, I consider Spider-Verse a bit of a revival in terms of, like, what animation stories can be. Because since then we've had stories like Arcane, all that also do something really, really different with their art form in their animation. So
Puss in Boots as well.
Puss in Boots is another one.
Mitchell's versus Machines, I think, all went down that route.
Yeah, and then you know what? Here's another good example: is everything in Life, Death, and Robots. They also vary it up as well.
They do.
And
then again, I think those are different animation teams.
Well, yeah, those are again, but still, I mean,
And then if we're going that direction, it could do like Star Wars Visions stuff like that.
You could go down the Lego Movie route.
It's true.
Which was
done by the Into the Spider-Verse people.
Looking, yeah,
but it was stop motion looking, but still a fair bit of it's still CGI. But they made it with the intention of making it look like stop motion. They had a basis
Yeah.
to work off of. So it's like,
I
if I were to encompass my problems of what's been lost, it's just the industrialization of art in the sense that we've lost the ability to be. Most things feel corporatized now, in that nothing expresses that creativity to the extent that it used to. We don't have that wide range. We have these few standout things, but I'm hoping that it does bring everything back in a sort of revivalist kind of way. But time will tell.
It's kind of interesting. The examples we gave were all animated.
yeah. Well, yeah, because I think that's a big.
Animated is
That's
a
usually
very clear one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Easier to visually see. But
yeah, because then I can also probably look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe as another example of the Iron Man 1 to Avengers. Actually, Iron Man 1 to, I think.
I love Iron Man 1.
Yeah, Iron Man 1 CGI is very, very good.
Holds up today.
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, what was the MCU? What MCU movie started the decline?
Black Panther's a milestone. I don't know if it's like the start of a decline.
I think.
Well, that was a lot of there was a lot of CGI in there because I think like most of the sets are not real. Obviously because they have a whole have a whole city, they have a whole jungle and everything.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Black Panther's the first one where it was obvious that things were getting bad because they intentionally say, people have come out and intentionally said this. The reason that Black Panther's CGI is so bad, that movie's CGI died on the hill to make Thanos look as good as he did in Endgame and Infinity War. So Black Panther, I think, was the first indicator of what was wrong. And then Black Widow has more of those terrible CGI moments, but they're more isolated, so it's not scenery, it's just, so it has to do with what the characters are.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think it's just been a steady decline since.
I think it's their over-reliance on CG, because everybody has a nanotech helmet now. There's like no practical helmets anymore.
No. I mean,
even Ant-Man, he had a practical cool helmet, and now it's nanotech.
Yeah, the ball suits.
Yeah, ball suits.
Yeah, it's all motion capture stuff.
Have you ever seen that picture? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, have you seen that picture of it's Ian McKellen on the set of like The Hobbit, and it's just all green screen all around him, and he's just sitting there just by himself.
That was so depressing.
I know. I was like, and granted, Lord of the Rings also has like just like the original trilogy has a lot of CGI in it, and parts and everything. But like,
it grounded its CGI, really did.
I'm like, it doesn't. A lot of people are saying, either all practical or all, there's like two sides of it. It's, and it's like, I think there's a point where you can coexist, and there has been points where they coexist, and they're, one helps the other, and one, works, but it's the combination
of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yeah,
good mix of CG and practical.
Lord of the Rings is probably my favorite in terms of what I like. That it's a good mix of practical and CGI. It's another good mix of practical and CGI. The Force Awakens.
Oh, it might be my example. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean's good. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd also strangely, I would pick The Force Awakens of the sequel trilogy for Star Wars.
Ooh, interesting.
Practical aliens on that one.
Yeah.
It
had a lot. JJ's big thing when filming The Force Awakens was practical, where he stepped away from doing digital. He wanted to do it on film, which he did. Which was more expensive, but he said it would make it help look more authentic. So I think The Force Awakens, is the most recent that I can think of off the top of my head that was a very, very good blend of practical and CGI.
Yeah.
No matter what I think of the script, I think those complemented each other fairly well throughout the film.
Something with practical effects that I don't think we covered, or I didn't bring up as effects in Wizard of Oz, was something I was confused on, because I believe we did scene by scene for Wizard of Oz, and there was a part when the house falls after the tornado and Dorothy goes to open up the front door, and in versions of the film I've seen before, when she gets to the front door, the cut before that, you see a film what the little like burn bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some versions don't have that, but I think more original versions have that bubble because that is a cut in the tape of the film tape. Because the next scene, I was so curious how they did that scene where she's in the house and it's all sepia toned, open the door to color to go to Oz. I figured out how they did that.
Yeah,
and
I
don't think
remember
we
reading
covered
about
it for
that.
the episode.
Yeah.
How they do that shot is everything in sepia tone was painted. That was all outfits and painted, and that's why you only see the back of Dorothy's head because they couldn't paint her face.
Yeah, we covered that in the podcast. I don't think we gave a definitive answer on it.
No, I think we were all curious on how it could have happened, but we didn't know for a fact. I did look more into it and found out how they did that. But like that as a practical effect is just amazing. And for the creativity for that to be decided in 1939.
I think the other thing, like the big change that's happened is, with a few exceptions, like I'll pick on Marvel. You know, they're a big target. Who cares?
I mean, like Marvel's also a good pick too because it's been around now for a while, so you can actually track it. You know.
I mean, I was 11 when roughly 11 when like the first Marvel movie came out, Iron Man. But I'll pick on them. I couldn't tell you, with a few exceptions. You know, I can name off a couple that I know because they're people that I am fans of, of directors. But for the most part, I couldn't tell you who directed most of those movies because they don't really have like I said, a few exceptions. They don't have any of like a character imbued in them that I can pinpoint from anywhere else, right? I mean, Taika Waititi, James Gunn are kind of like the only two where I can see a common thread, from like their own works.
Style.
Yeah, style.
It took me
pick it up from Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
I mean, Joss Whedon's whole point is that he doesn't really have a style, so no, I he's probably another one that Sam Raimi.
There's over 20 movies, and we're not going to know all 20.
Yeah,
directors,
obviously.
So.
But yeah, Sam Raimi's another one, but he hasn't done like multiple Marvel movies. I'm talking about people that have done like multiple Marvel movies. So a lot of them are stand-ins or whatever. But yeah, like I couldn't tell you most of them because I can't really see they're so homogenized for the most part that it doesn't really matter. It's like it's a Marvel movie, not not like I don't know, like a Brian De Palma movie or something. Yeah. It's a Marvel movie,
Christopher Nolan's next film, or
I think
a lot of the creativity is kind of taken out of it.
It takes
for the sake of making it.
It took me a while. I think I did pick up eventually because I have rewatched a lot of the Marvel movies at nauseum, at least the earlier year ones. I think I've watched Iron Man 1 and 2 enough to get a good glimpse of what Jon Favreau's style is, and I can see those kind of carry out from his films. The Russo brothers took me a lot longer, with them starting in Civil War. Not Civil War. They started with in Winter Soldier. So I was able to I can see their work through to Endgame because they did Infinity War, Civil War, and Endgame on top of Winter Soldier.
And Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
They love that sorrow sit-down talk. I think that's in every one of their films, that like dark, moody, lit dialogue discussion.
Yeah, and to be fair, those are some of the best scenes in the movie because that's when you can really, really bring out the characters.
I think that's their style. Like that's their like this is what we need to cover in a film, and they put a lot of energy into that.
I think they're the better of like the ones that I can that are kind of like cookie cutter or whatever. They're the better ones because I think they genuinely did try to make compelling movies.
Yeah.
That so
I mean, there's a reason why there was a reason why they were handed the keys to make the last two Avengers movies, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That brings up a question then.
Yeah.
For me, what do you think was the best directed film out of the 10 we saw?
I'm going to say Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Tie it back to the decades.
Yeah.
Going on a Marvel tangent.
Well,
I mean, we're still addressing the question. So
yeah, we're talking about like what is in these movies and I think tie it back to what I was talking about just a little bit, because I think Everything Everywhere All at Once that is a singular movie, right? That's a very definitive creative voice in there, that this is the story that I want to tell, and I'm going to tell it in this way, because it's not, I mean, there's references obviously, and there's like, inspirations in there where you can see, there's elements of like the Matrix, there's elements of, other sci-fi stuff, but like I had never seen a movie quite like this until I saw this movie, right? So it's very, very specific, but it's also open enough where you can look into it, right? And
I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
If that's what Crimson and Ryder think.
Yeah,
We're starting to get a little rise of the more independent film because of A24, I think. Because I never heard of A24 a couple of years ago, but now they're releasing a lot of, like you're saying, one-off stuff. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Marcel the Shell, Hereditary. They're pumping out a lot of one-off things, not franchising, which is good, I think.
A relief.
And I mean, no problem with like franchises, because like most of the movies I grew up on were like, trilogies and franchises, and that can work. I think the problem is that, still like Star Wars is still like, that's a George Lucas passion project. George Lucas was heavily involved in Star Wars. It wasn't Disney was heavily involved in Star Wars. It was George Lucas was heavily involved in Star Wars. And freaking, the list goes on. So it can work, but you have to have like that level of care, and you have to have that level of, actually want to do it, I think, for it to still be impactful 30, 40 years later. Because people still like those movies.
I'd say the same goes for Robert Zemeckis in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's like a director that you hear their name and you already picture the one thing. Like they're known for like, tons of things, but there's one that's like the standout.
Yeah, their mark.
Yeah, which I wouldn't say is for every director.
No, like, I mean, because Sam Raimi has two. He has Evil Dead and he has Spider-Man. So
I'd agree.
But I think most people know him for Spider-Man. But
I don't think you say, "Hey, Sam Raimi," and they go, "Oh yeah, Multiverse of Madness."
No.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it in there.
Sprinks, in terms of your director question, how do you define? I find that a difficult question because I can't really define what that even means.
Yeah, you give us a deep one, so I'm throwing out a random hard one.
Like, what did the director of Princess Bride contribute? I don't know.
I don't know for any of them.
Exactly. Okay. So I don't really know how to answer that because it's based off the writers.
Yeah, without seeing behind the scenes or anything of how they directed or how they went about their cast or crew.
Okay, so I have an additional question for you, Springs, in that would help us define it a little bit more. Are you asking for like directorial style that we can sort of detect?
Sure, Ryder, we can go with that. My main thing was just to get us focused more on decade.
Yeah.
Connecting something, but yeah, we can go with directorial style. Unfortunately, we don't have a list of the directors to go off of prior works they've done.
I'm probably going to go by movies.
12 Angry Men, that was like his only or few things he did, right?
Yeah.
So I'll say 12 Angry Men.
Okay. Because to me, 12 Angry Men is like, I think it's probably the most well written out of all these.
And the director for that shows a lot of the close-up shots, and
unfortunately, that was not the only thing he did.
On a heavy role of cinematography direction as well. So
yeah, I mean, like,
I think I'll stick.
Yeah, like if I were to pick something that's that proves "quote unquote" the artistic talent more, I would probably also pick 12 Angry Men, just because it's people stuck in a room. How do you film this to make it interesting? You have to film it in a way that adds tension. You have to film it in a way that builds character. You have to film it in a way that you have to achieve multiple things at once because you are so limited in where your story can be told. So
I'm in agreement, but on the opposite side of you, I'd go with Shawshank. Of how do you capture 20 plus years in one film?
You can't.
But you
But they
can.
did it.
Well, you
Did
can. That's
What of the story is there? What would you show? What would you cut?
No, I was saying like in the way of there's a
Or just
I
a
don't know if
question
it's
on the director is what I mean.
yeah,
Like,
I don't know if it's a
what
quote.
story of Andy would you show? How much of Red would you show? I mean,
I can't say for certain it's a quote, but I was watching it was that Mank movie about Herman Mankiewicz who wrote Citizen Kane. And so anybody who's a film buff knows about Citizen Kane. We're not going to talk about Citizen Kane. Anyways, but there's a quote because Citizen Kane, it's 30, 40 years of the guy's life. It's his whole life in this movie. It's, character Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-hour whatever movie. So how do you capture a lifetime in like 2 hours? And you mean really you can't, but you can give glimpses and you can give specific moments that create the character or create the framework of the character.
Yeah, there was
defining moments.
Yeah, and it creates, and so it's not so much a circle; it's a cinnamon roll of it goes in on itself. It warps in, and I think Shawshank did that really, really well. Where I'm not saying because he wasn't a real character, but he wasn't a real person. Whereas Citizen Kane was kind of a Randolph Hearst character, but they did a good job of picking moments and picking, sticking to like a timeline, and it had all filtered out, and so it felt like a real person, and it could have been a real person.
Yeah, kind of to add just a little bit more into that. I think there's a Steve Jobs film.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yes,
he's had a couple films, but the one I'm thinking of is more isolated to
the Michael Fassbender.
Yeah,
where they do like the three. Yes, that's a great example.
Yeah, that focuses on just 3 specific time periods for this particular character or this person that existed, and it was able to also give us windows into most avenues of his life in that time period as well, within these tiny segments that we're showing throughout the film. So I agree. Like I said, Shawshank's another good choice, Springs. So
yeah. Those are our 2 highest ones. So and they're two tonally very, very different approaches to the same format of film.
I guess an interesting question. If you were to screenshot anything from any of these movies and have it as a wallpaper, what would you screenshot?
I mean, easy one for me is Miles rising towards the city in Into the Spider-Verse.
It's a good one.
Because
feeling it's going to be one of those jumping moments.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because if I had to pick one frame, I'm going to go with what I enjoyed the most. And mind you, I love a lot of these movies, but I have to go with the one that is just at least the most recent thing that I've enjoyed the most that was really, really impactful of these 10. I would go with the Miles rising towards the city. So
for me,
no, you go.
That was sinister. For me, it's kind of difficult because I had 2 that came to mind instantly in Atlantis. Is when Kida has been absorbed by the power, the crystal, whatever, around the heads, and her walking with the invisible bubble. Both those are pretty good. And the Guardians out on the edge about to protect against lava. Beautiful. So it's really hard to just pinpoint one of those 3. And then there's some good Sound of Music ones, landscape shots that they did. But I think I would just maybe Kida walking with the water splashing on the invisible dome around her. Probably be it for me.
Unfortunately, mine is also probably one of like 2 or 3 things from Atlantis because I just love how they drew everything and how it all looks. Either like kind of like that early like sideways shot of like the submarine underwater. The waters colliding in with the Moai, or not the Moai, the wrong region. Those giant statues like clasping, or the light coming down and taking Kita's mom is also a really good one. If I'd choose something else, I would probably choose that shot of I'm blanking on the name. In Everything and Everywhere All at Once is the main Michelle Yeoh's
Wayland?
character.
Oh,
Michelle Yeoh's
Evelyn?
character.
Evelyn.
That's what I thought, and I was like, that's not right. Evelyn, the fight on the is it a staircase or is it an escalator? I remember it as
Staircase with Jamie Lee Curtis
Yeah, okay.
doing the knee
Yes.
jump.
no.
no,
In the
where the
mall.
donut. I keep saying it's a donut. The bagel.
Because you like donuts, you don't like
Yeah,
bagels.
the one where she wed the couple.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
the,
still a
the stairs. Yeah.
Okay, that's a stair. Okay, I was like, I'm pretty. It was in a mall, so it would be an escalator. But I was like, I remember it as a staircase. I love that. I just love and it's all from the side. It looks really cool.
Uh,
Brinks, do you have an answer to that?
Well, when it comes to a wallpaper, I like things where, well, most wallpapers I like because of like either on a laptop or a phone, is the files you have are over a solid color, and then there's an image that pops out on its own. That's what I like to
yeah, that's
see.
usually what I go for as well.
So there's some things that come to mind where a file would cover it. Because the first thing that popped in my mind was towards the end of Into the Spider-Verse, when Spider-Man Noir is back home holding the Rubik's Cube, and you can see his
It's
city
color.
in the background.
That's
Oh.
cool.
So like him on the left would be uncovered, and the files would be on the right, like on a laptop or
Mhm.
desktop. So that was the first thing that come to mind. But I think the answer I'll go with is Everything Everywhere All at Once, of the big open canyon space and the two rocks, and it just says "Just Be a Rock" in the middle.
It's a good
It
one.
is-
I have if I were to pick something from Everything Everywhere All at Once, I actually would probably pick the shot of when oh god, I'm gonna get his character name wrong. Waymond. It's when he's first lights a cigarette in a dark alley, and it's like everything's
Oh, that's a
blurred, and
good
it
one.
slowly zooms into him, and he comes into focus with him on one side and the dark alley right next to him. Fucking beautiful shot. Love it.
That's a good. That might beat my idea. That's a good one. This was unrelated a little bit, but I was just looking up posters for Atlantis because I was like, I remember there was a really good one that I remember when I was a kid, and I just forgotten about it, and then like it flipped the switch in my brain. But there's one and I think it was in like a trailer for it too at the end. It was like a teaser. And it's just like the A of the Atlantis, like that pointed thing,
Mm-hmm.
like all rusty or whatever, like coming out of the sea with like lightning behind it. And I don't know why, but I always was like, oh, it looks so mysterious. Like something about it just like drew me in because it's just like, what's that A doing there? Like what? Like if you came across that, it would be so mystifying.
It's interesting. It's a design they used for the logo of the film, but it's not in the film.
No,
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
not
logo
really
in the
relevant.
film is the Shepherd's Journal circle.
which I always thought for years that was a real thing, and it's not. But
Rip.
That's
Yeah.
what they want you to believe.
they did a good job selling it. Crimson laughed at me when I said I thought it was real.
I did.
He did, yeah.
Well, any other questions?
Let's see.
Just a big hoorah of how the season went.
No, I got something. I guess it's not really a dig into you, Crimson, but more like a kind of.
Dick, please peel.
No, we're more like finishing up
Rip.
our back
Rip me
and forth.
apart.
Yeah, it's more like finishing up our back and forth from Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was
Mhm.
I think I've settled on. I think films should start, having now seen a bunch of multiverse films, I think films need to start clarifying whether they're working with a finite multiverse or an infinite multiverse.
See, I was going to ask about that.
And the reason behind that is because I think either or would actually help the film depending on the situation.
I mean, we talked about it with Everything Everywhere All at Once. They just needed one line.
They really
Yeah.
did. And
Would have fixed a lot of my issues.
yeah, so
I agree with that concept. They need to start defining it because it's similar to like time travel. When you say, "Oh, it's a time travel movie," that could mean forwards or backwards. Kind of same with multiverse. When I think multiverse, I think infinite because that's like what I think of with multiverse: infinite possibilities, time travel. You can go forwards, backwards.
That was
But
your
if they
biggest thing
define
with Joe
this is a time
Butchapaki.
machine that can only go forward in time, or this is a multiverse that is finite, there's only like 100 worlds or something, 100 universes.
You would like Futurama. Futurama handled time travel in that way of they just were like, yeah, this time machine can only go forwards. It can't go backwards.
Yeah, it just overlaps.
Yeah, so defining it would certainly help in, I think, most, if not all, situations.
I think it's always a struggle with that, is that kind of explaining it takes a little bit of the mystery or the magic out of it. But I think you're right overall in that
it needs to be
generally helps.
Yeah, it needs to be. You don't need to necessarily take away the magic, but it needs to be explained enough so that the audience can understand, not necessarily the stakes, but like the basic rule set that's being applied.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I guess an example of it kind of starting to turn bad, but I still consider it fairly middle of the ground, is Endgame, because Endgame introduces conflicting rules from Marvel. Like they introduce conflicting time travel rules, and I think it gets in the reason for that is because they're trying to over-explain the time travel. That's kind of what a byproduct of that is. And you do have to, so it's a delicate balance that you have to strike, because you need to do it enough to where the audience can understand the rule set, but not enough to where you start breaking what you've already written.
And this is what separates a good filmmaker from a bad filmmaker.
And a good writer from a bad writer.
Exactly. It's it's how vague you can keep it while still retaining a set rules.
Yeah, especially with something like time travel, you know?
I think that's something where a lot of people have kind of given up on time travel, because now we kind of have a decent understanding of the science of it, and it is so complicated, and a lot of people, like I don't, like Neil deGrasse Tyson will like pick movies apart for being, so unrealistic about it. And
I mean, I love Doctor Who to this day, and the time travel rules in that are very, very fucking simple, but we understand the basics enough of how the rule set works.
Yeah, and I think and again, we've seen a lot of, now the hot thing seems to be multiversal stuff, and now I think we've seen 3 or 4 examples.
Overall, or just for the pod?
Well,
overall,
we got Spider-Man, we got the Flash. Oh, for the pod, there's 3.
Yeah. Okay, 3. Okay, let's count some other ones just to narrow it out a little bit, because it's a big thing now. We got Flash, we got the Multiverse of Madness, we've got most of Marvel movies in the last couple of years, I guess. So discount that. Do you think, especially because Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think we can all agree is the best example of that kind of story device, or
that I've come across, anyways.
Implementation of that.
I would agree. I say, and with for me, Into the Spiders being number 2 on that list.
Yes.
But yes, I think
everything.
Yeah, go on.
Do you think there's enough now where there's a good enough idea where kind of you have to explain versus where you have to be vague now, where it could potentially be a workable like trope? Or do you think it's still something where it's so kind of randomized, or too out there to kind of ever be able to be sort of used in a wide variety, I guess?
Okay,
I think it's workable. I think our defining statement that we said, it's infinite or not, I think that's enough to work with.
To kind of, I guess, add a little more on, I think, do you have enough examples now as an artist, if you chose to make a multiversal story, you have enough good examples now, like, that you can get a sort of baseline of that genre from, in order to make your story in a similar vein of being able to balance what's your reality with the sci-fi, the science fiction aspect. So I think that's more available to us now than it was 5 or 6 years ago. So I think there is enough now to where you can, yeah.
So there's a decent baseline of kind of what bar you kind of need to reach above for it to be a workable plot point, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions for this recap?
I'm fresh out.
Fresh ideas.
Other than the basic one of how did the season go for you guys?
All right, that'll be the last one. How did the season went?
Uh-huh.
Who wants to start with
You
that?
go first.
I'll go with that. All right. Since this was originally my conception, I thought it went pretty well. I think we did a good selection. Not necessarily that they were representative of each decade, but I like what we got. I mean, 7 was our lowest score, which is pretty darn
Averagely.
solid. Yes, on average. So, pretty solid. I enjoy it. I will definitely be up to doing this in the future. Who knows when that will be, but I'm definitely for doing another decade.
We got like 5 other choices for each decade, so
Yeah, we have a list.
The 80s had like 30 picks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lots to choose from every decade, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, with trilogies not counted.
Yeah, we tried to avoid franchises. Another thing that I think we did miss out on was doing specific directors and like following that sort of specific thing. But
That'll be its own season.
that could be its
Yeah,
own.
that
That
could
could
be
be
a
its own
season.
season. It's so I know we missed out on like Ron Howard, Akira Kurosawa, and a few others that I think we were all really, really gunning for during our discussions out of the
Oh, yeah, I
podcast.
would love to talk about Yojimbo at some point, or any
Yeah.
Kurosawa films. They're all great.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say I had a lot of fun this season. It's very unique. But it was very awesome because even with what we have, we could see the progression from one decade to the next, almost in style and CGI and.
I mean, it's like, yeah. On top of that, like, there was, I think, a definite evolution of each movie, kind of, even if it wasn't intended. There was different genres throughout, different ideals throughout. Very interesting.
I'm curious if our discussions evolved at all. Like if we
No, we're
focused
still
on
calling
other
each
things.
other.
No, like if we discussed on different things, like if we focused more on, the lighting in the earlier stuff versus the later stuff, or like how our discussions from them went on. And I guess that's up for you, audience member, listening, if you listen to
Yeah.
all 10, how that changed.
I mean, I was only in 4 of them, but these guys did some serious work. These 3 guys. So,
Yeah, maybe. I do plan on re-listening to quite a few of these actually. I like. I don't know. Crimson liking Louis in Casablanca is very amusing to me. So I quite enjoyed re-listening to that podcast.
And not so much a Max in Sound of Music,
Yeah.
which we discussed.
interesting. If anything, I think maybe we got more. I mean, I was only in a couple of them, but I think gradually we got more philosophical throughout. Maybe. Of
The last 2 did end with multiverse.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
last 2 definitely got more into that
Yeah,
for
well-
sure.
science-y philosophy throughout.
Yeah.
Which maybe a lot of these movies lend themselves to more.
So Sprinks, decade thoughts? Decade?
Oh, I think it went well. Went really good. I mean, as I said, throughout this decade, we have a supplemental content thing we have of us discussing what was for which decade and what to go with. And I don't know if it's something, I mean, this is good, that first decade that we did and went well. I'm curious if we should think for later if we should go with a ad pick to try to mix up, because I mean, nothing lower than a 7 if we should try to mix it up a little rather than just like the best of a decade.
Decade season 6. All right.
Don't worry, we'll wait for Velma
Well, no,
season 2.
I didn't mean all 10 of a bad movie. I'm just like trying to
That'd be
give it a
fun,
little
though.
more variety in ratings and thoughts, and maybe that would mix things up.
Imagine all the cheesy 34s and 50s movies.
It's kind of
Oh God, yeah.
the difficulty in that is that we're not necessarily trying to pick something representative of the decade. We were just trying to pick something that one that
We enjoyed, yeah.
that we
We're
thought
interested in.
was interested in, like, for reasons, and for us to have that want to go back and check it out, it had to be a movie that stood the test of time to a degree,
It's very interesting, though. It's very interesting because we went in or well, you guys went in with the, I'll say right now, I didn't technically have a vote on any of these because I wasn't going to be a part of all of them. So, fair enough on that. But went in, and that was the express purpose was this wasn't supposed to be the end all be all of 1930, the end all be all of 1940. But I think without really going for that, right? A lot of these movies kind of are. Like Casablanca is very much, I think, a product of, you could say
Early
World War
1940s,
II.
yeah.
Yeah. Wizard of Oz is very much a product of a 1930s, and 12 Ring Men is very, 50s, and Sound of Music, on and on and on. So, unintentionally, they are, or for a lot of them, are very, very much of their decade, in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
unintentional.
Well, was that the rest of your comments, Sprinks?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ryder, if you want to close us out, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, I'll close this out. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, whether it be Anchor, Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Samsung. And if you happen to be on our YouTube side of things, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and enjoy watching our slideshow with our PNG tubers. And tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And tell us how the decades went, and tell us.
Help us solve those ties.
Yeah, help us solve those ties.
Please.
And also help us, maybe give us some suggestions for the next one that we might come along. And as always, I have been a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
I'll try not to be brain dead next time.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.